What's going on, guys? I am driving home for the weekend. I am week 4 into my chiropractic journey, and I felt like maybe it's kind of time I, started saying a little bit more about my journey and the start of it, which is why I sold my gym after 10 something years and moved all the way across the country from Virginia down to Florida. Not really all the way across, but enough distance. And started a chiropractic journey at the age of 47. Why would someone do that? Midlife crisis? It's debatable. Kind of still up in that boat here. Okay, so the process of what kind of went through that is going through the gym. The gym's going well. It was been in the black for years. So I didn't sell it. Was it making a lot of money? No, but it was making some money, and people were happy. The workouts were good. People were getting healthy. So it wasn't a bad reason for me closing down the gym and selling everything off. But why did I do it? And several reasons. One, I'm looking at retirement. What can I do to set myself up for the best way to retire? And in the small town that I was in, competing with other gyms that are just saturating the market, making it almost impossible to gather a large clientele base, it just made sense that this wasn't the best option going forward to make a great retirement living. So that's one reason. One reason I did that was I need to start looking at a better retirement. The other is I've been in position for years to help people, and I wasn't just a coach. I spent time learning anatomy and active release techniques for myofascial release. Became more of a physical therapist and looked into chiropractic, things like that. So my mindset of owning a gym was in that area. Like I wanted to help people that way. The byproduct was getting them stronger and healthier and fitter, right? But going back to step one, I needed a way to retire. So how can I help people continue in this pattern and make enough money to retire? And I started looking at, I've always loved chiropractic, and that's kind of led me. I'm like, okay, well, what does it take to get into chiropractic? And if you don't have your degree in those areas, a lot of sciencey backed classes, then you have to go back to school again. So my initial degree was in IT system administration with a database focus. So, and I had been doing that as an IT admin for 14 years. So my classes weren't science-based, so I had to go back. And I had a master's in exercise science, but it wasn't enough, right? So I had to go back, and I went to Arizona State, and I had to get essentially another undergrad. Essentially, that's what it felt like. It was a little over a year, almost about a year and a half. So that was all the science-backed classes, right? Biology, physics, anatomy, all the anatomy classes, just anything and everything science-based. And then I got accepted into National University down here in Florida. So that's why I decided to come here. And there's honestly, for chiropractic, there's not an abundance of good chiropractic colleges in the United States. There's very select few, and they're not in every state. So you can't just be like, I want to go to University of Virginia and say you want to be a chiropractor. You can't. So the more I'm into that schooling, and I'll talk more about this in a second, that the more I'm learning about the school I chose and chiropractic and what is chiropractic and all that stuff. So that's an interesting story. That might be for another video. However, so the process of selling my gym, so that's kind of why I decided to finally close my gym, is I wanted to do this. So I went back to school, got all my classes, and then once I graduated or got all the prerequisites and got accepted, I started the process of shutting down my gym. which there's a lot of things to think about when you're doing that, right? You can't just shut it down. You have people that are in your home, and now you have to relocate them. So that was something I was massively stressed. Like, I couldn't sleep. Finally, trying to tell everybody, get out of my home. It was much nicer than that. However, it was essentially, all right, guys, the home's closing down. You got to go. So how did that go? So finally, once I told everybody that we're shutting down in this month, this date, it was pretty good. Everybody had some time to kind of find their new home, and it took a lot of pressure off of me, and then I could focus just on what I needed to do. So when you're closing, it's simple, but it's not, because it's easy. Hey, shut down everything. So I shut down everything. I turned off the internet, the Spotify, the front door access, the online. So all your reoccurring subscriptions, right? That's the first thing you got to kind of look at. Then you have to look about any outstanding debt, right? You got to make sure that that's all paid off, because you have no more income coming in. So all that outstanding debt over the years had to be paid off. Then you're looking at, I've got, a lot of equipment. So how did I do that? So the first thing is that, I sold it to all my members, gave them first rights to everything, sold it all to them. But that still left me with a lot of big items. And then that's where Facebook Marketplace really came into play. And it kind of makes it easy to sell things now, is you can hit a massive distribution that way. Not just local, but global. And, it took me a little bit of time, but by the end of the month, everything was sold. Like, everything. I have a few things, a couple bars and some weights, and I took enough to make my own gym at the house. Things like that. So I have a really nice gym set up at my own home now, which is nice. So gym's closed, all the recurring subscriptions are closed, all debts paid off. So that's closing the gym. Boom. All right, so now we got 47 years old, no income, and then moving to another state. That's another issue, right? So now where do you go from that? So I got kind of a lead from my old coach, who told me about furnished finders, and I was looking at normal apartments, and the standard. Let me move into an apartment. Well, apartments down here are on average for 1 to 2 bedroom, anywhere between $1,700-$1,800 all the way up to $2,200-$2,300 for a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartment. Okay. Now, you don't have any furniture, you don't have any food, you don't have any internet, water, sewer, everything hook up. Those are all the things that you have to accommodate for buying a new apartment. Well, do I want to pay over $3,000 for all that? That with no income, that's a lot. The only income I have coming in is government subsidies right now. So now, so the furnished finders idea was nice, because essentially it's like an Airbnb, just another kind of company. So now I don't have to pay. I pay, your monthly price. I'm paying what, $2,100 or something like that right now. But I don't have to worry about trash. I don't have to worry about water. I don't have to worry about internet. I didn't have to worry about any washer and dryer. I didn't have to worry about any electricity. Everything 100% is included for my one price per month. When you're on a budget, man, like, that's the kind of way. So I got lucky. I like the furnished finder, because it's not like I'm renting a room from someone's house. I'm at someone's house, but they turn their attached garage into a 1-bedroom loft, and like, this place is pretty legit. Okay. So I don't think I would pay this much money to stay in a room at someone's house. But if I had rented my own condo or rent like this room, then it's kind of worth it. So I kind of like that. So that would be my suggestion to think about, right? Do you want your own apartment? Do you have enough money to buy your own house? But looking at your best financial budget for a place to live is what I would do. All right. So for my case, and I'm not a proponent of renting. I really, 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 really hate renting because I feel like I'm just giving someone my money. And I would rather own the house, pay myself rent, and then turn around and rent it out or sell it at the end of the 4 years. So I'm still looking at that, but initially to get down here, I think renting this way is perfect idea. Because like I said, I really hate just giving someone money and having nothing back in return. It's just, here's my money, bye. So, all right, moved down, and now I'm in here, and then, shopping for myself and getting food and things like that were a chore as well, having to essentially how to relearn taking care of yourself for the first time again. And that's been a struggle, and I'm just now, getting through 4 weeks, and I think I'm finally kind of getting the hang of like when I wash my clothes, when do I meal prep, when what do I eat every night, when do I go to bed, things like that. So I'm just kind of getting the hang of that, ish. So now I'm 47, going into a new chiropractic program, and I didn't really talk to many people about what this is going to look like day one. And we had an intro session on Friday before we started, and it was okay. It was like, hey, welcome, this is what we're going to do, but no one really talked about the pace of the classes, the pace of the studying, the pace of the information coming at you, and like how you're gonna feel, and then where do you go for help immediately, and just everything. All of that was just not really given to us, and apparently that's normal. A lot of grad places don't tell you that. I don't know why. Maybe they're afraid they'll scare you away. But here's what most of my day one, day two was like. And the analogy they use is drinking through a fire hose for 4 years. And I didn't understand it, and now I do. Because we went through the first week and anatomy class, a full year of my undergrad anatomy in 1 week. We shot through that whole damn thing. Do you understand? Boom, we're on the same page. Good. Day two, we're opening up our donor body, and we're cutting through superficial layers of the back. Cell physiology, everything you learned about the cell, and it's like, cool, mitochondria, yay, ATP, powerhouse, know it. Now we're in class this 4th week, and we're learning about how mitochondria has its own DNA. This is actually how ATP is made within mitochondria. And then exactly how things get through the membrane wall. So it's like everything you learned in undergrad, and then going, cool, let's go to the next level now. You have a very good high overview, and in undergrad you're like, damn, this is really in depth, and then no, it's not. Like now a couple teachers are like, oh, but wait, there's more. There's a lot more. So starting this grad school, the first couple of weeks is you're losing your mind. You don't know where to focus, because I'm used to taking one class every 15 or 5 weeks, and now I'm in 8 classes each week, and the only difference is these 8 classes are built out over 4 months. So the amount of information thrown at you is so much. Like, it's so heavy. And you study for cell physiology, and then it's like, well, the next class is anatomy, and then it's like, great, now you got to learn all this anatomy, and then, oh, by the way, now you got to go into the next day, you got to go into human biochem, and then, oh, by the way, next day you got to go learn palpation, and then the next day you got to learn cell physiology, or not cell physiology, cell histology, all right, tissues. So which one do you focus on, right? You got to go home and study, and you got to get homework, and you got to pass the tests. So where do you study? And this has been the hard part, is because before it was like my one class, cool, I studied, this is my one class for the week, I study that. Now it's no, you have to figure out time. So I've had to spend some time reteaching myself how to study. And what I found, especially a lot of YouTube videos online, is go from, don't just, if you studied self physiology today and anatomy, you probably want to give yourself a break on that for the day. You don't want to go back into that again. Give yourself a day to kind of essentially let your brain forget it a little bit, and then go back and retouch on it tomorrow. So what you'd want to study for on that same day, so let's say Monday is self-physiology anatomy, I might want to go in and learn biochem at the end of the day. So now I'm getting my brain off of what I've kind of been numbed on that day, and then go into another topic. And then Tuesday, if I have anatomy, I want to go back and learn the self-physiology that I learned the previous day. So now I'm relearning on an opposite day, so like crisscross. And the thing that I'm learning as well is like I'm trying to overdo it, and I'm spending 2 to 3 hours on this, and I think it's overkill. You're overdoing it and over confusing your brain. Summarize the parts of the whole, right? So if instead of trying to relearn the whole thing, your reviews are skim jobs. Go through and then just take out the important parts of that day. Don't try to relearn everything. So when you're in lectures, take notes of what they're saying is important, like just jot down. So don't just copy. Copying is not the way to go. Take your notes and be like, shit, ATP processing at the mitochondrial membrane. Boom. And like for me, I'm putting question marks, and then I'll go back and I'll relearn that later on. But I think if you try to take notes and write everything down and everything, you're gonna not keep up. It's because of that whole drinking through a fire hose. It is too much to take regular notes and write normal. You just can't do it. So my recommendation, and I'm still teaching myself and learning this, is take summarized notes, knowing that you're going to go back and kind of re-educate yourself tomorrow. And then also the use of AI technology. So I use ChatGPT and Notebook Notebook LM from Google, and to help me get an understanding of it. Because like once you go home, right, you don't have your teacher. You need to understand this. So I use it to help summarize parts. So the parts that I'm having a hard time understanding, I will upload my documents into that, right? So all the PDFs I get and lecture notes and things like that, I'll upload into these tools, and I'm like, help me learn this, explain it to me, dumb it down like a fifth grader. And then that helps me relearn it in a way that's on my level, my pace, and my way of understanding. So that's kind of a way that I would do it. And it's kind of working right now. Like I said, things are slowing down. There's still a lot of information, but I don't feel like it's panicked, because the first week I was panicking, so much so that I'm like, I didn't sleep. I was having my chest pains, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this. And once again, apparently that's a common thing, because you go from 0 to 1,000, and nobody really prepares you and tells you how you probably should study, how you should take notes. You're just like, the teacher starts talking, and you frantically start taking notes, and you start panicking because it's so much. It is so much. And what you need to do is just take a second and slow down, summarize things, and then don't overkill yourself on the studying part of it. And so far that's going. We all took our first test Friday in anatomy. We all passed, and that's great. And then and here's another thing. And I it's taken me a while. I thought about this, but I'm kind of on board with this whole concept. In undergrad, you're looking at who gets the highest GPA, and while it's yes, you want a high grade, I don't think that's always indicative of do you know it, right? Does someone actually know the topic, or does the test just confuse the shit out of them? And I'm more of the person that tests confuse the shit out of me, but I understand the material, right? When I'm going into tests, like I understand it, and then they flip the verbiage around, and you're like, shit, I didn't learn it that way. But whatever. Not everybody is good test takers. So their concept, and a couple of people have said this, including teachers, are you need, as long as you get a C or above, you passed, move on. Right? So pass your test and move on to the next subject. Because if you dwell on whether you did good or bad and got a 71 versus an 81, you're missing the point. You just passed a test, move on. Right? It doesn't mean you don't know the subject. It means you had issues on the test, but you still passed. Right? And at the end of the day, even with chiropractic school and medical school, like we have 4 state board exams that we have to take over the 4 years. And the first one is next year. So all these tests are a prep for us taking the board exam next year. So if I pass the board exam, it doesn't matter if I got a 71 or 72. I passed. I passed the exam, and I'm on to the next one. So my mindset, that kind of calmed me down after that as well. It's like I'm no longer chasing a grade, I'm chasing understanding of the topic. And once you change your mindset to understand the topic, instead of chasing a grade, you're going to calm down so much, man. It is so much calmer not having to worry about that grade. So that is my journey so far, up until week 4, the end of week 4, and that's where I'm at right now. And we're just now starting to take some tests. So feeling good. I'm feeling okay. I'm still not like, oh, this is easy. It's not easy. Not even remotely is it easy. This past weekend, let me talk about that real quick, because the study habits. I am busy all day long. You're busy in class all day long. It's a 9-to-5 job. Really, essentially, your job's school. Then you get home, and let's say you go to school until 5. I'm not getting home until about 6. Then I need to eat, right? I need to cook dinner. So that is, let's say, 7 o'clock by the time I've cooked and done. And then do you need to work out? Cool. So that's 7 to 8. Then you need to shower. So let's say you're 8:30. Now you're ready to study at 8:30 at night. So how long do you study for? You can't throw in a 3-hour session, so then that puts you at 11:30. You can't do that. So your study sessions have to be abbreviated. They have to be summarized. But I'm putting in probably an hour and a half, 2 hours every night. And on the weekend, I'm putting in probably 2 hours on the weekend. Essentially. Put about, 2 to 3 hours. Just depends on how in depth I want to go, and how the flow is going that day. So, oh, you get the weekends off? No, you don't. There is no I get the whole entire weekend off. You just don't. So don't go into any grad school thinking that it's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. It is not. So be prepared to work. Be prepared to have not much downtime. I do have some downtime. Like, I make it a point to try to go to the gym, and I make it a point to try to go to the beach, because I'm so close to the beach. And that is my detox from everything. 'Cause if you don't have your detox, to let your mind kind of get away from everything, you're gonna have health problems. Your body's gonna start breaking down very quick. So exercise, eat right, meal prep, and we'll get into that meal prepping thing because I'm so big onto that now. I used to not be, but now I am. Meal prep, and then find your detox, right? Mine is the beach. Some might be able to go out to the bar and party. It doesn't matter. Find your detox, because you need to let your brain kind of get away from everything. Yeah, guys, talk to me. What questions do you have? Where do you want to go with this? I'm just going to be going random topics as I cover them. So meal prep is one that I'll be talking about, my study habits and what I'll be doing. And I'll be going through several other things as we go here. So if you want me to focus on things in general, the transition, I am one of the older students. In fact, I'm the oldest student in the schools right now, I think. Maybe not forever in the history, but I am in the school right now. I'm the oldest student, so yay. So if you have questions about transitioning after 40 into a new career, into moving states, into anything, right, after 40, I'm kind of going through right now. So let me know. Hope this was kind of, you took some stuff out of this and how to relate it to you. And, if you're scared to make that transition, I'll talk about that. Hit me up. I'll definitely talk about that, because I was a nervous wreck. I was panicking and scared. So yeah, talk to me. Let me know what you want to hear. And yeah, I'll make more of these. All right. Talk to you later.